This is the second part of the grammar review for pronouns, part 1. And I already went through and identified prepositional phrases, infinitives, found an adverb, and my intro dependent clause. So I'm going to just keep going from here and focus more on the preposition or the pronouns and how they're used in the sentence. The mystery surrounding the disappearance of Amelia Earhart makes I or me wonder if her fate will ever be known. Makes me wonder, because makes is an action verb. This is actually pretty confusing. The mystery makes whom or what? Makes me. I'm the direct object here. Okay, and I see that I've got Nawubis here, if, and so this is a complex sentence. It's not an intro dependent clause this time. I've got my dependent clause at the end of the sentence. Either one is considered a complex. We've been focusing more on putting your dependent clause at the beginning of the sentence so that we can add a little more sentence variety to our writing. But either one is correct. In 1932, she or her became the first woman to fly alone. I can say that it would be she, because she is the subject. She became. So I've got a subject pronoun that does the job of the subject of the sentence. Got an intro prep phrase here, which I already found. And actually, I think I'm going to go through and do all of this now, since I'm not really good at writing with this pen. I can tell that this is an intro prep phrase because I already highlighted it. I can tell that this is an intro prep phrase, on the trip. I already highlighted in 1937, so I know that's an intro prep phrase. And way down here at number 10, I see another one. And then I can tell this one was an infinitive because I put to fly inside of brackets. Alright, now we can really focus on our pronoun usage. So ignoring everything that's been highlighted and gotten rid of in this sentence, I'm left with newspapers gave she or her the name First Lady of the Sky. So I'm going to go through and find my subject, which is newspapers. Gave is my action verb. Gave what? Gave a name. Gave the name to whom? Gave the name to her. I know it's an indirect object, so I have to use an object pronoun for this sentence, and that would be her. It was she or her who wanted to be the first woman. I'm going to find my subject as it. Was is my linking verb, and I remember from the last part of this that we did that if we have a linking verb we can switch the order of the sentence around. Would I say she was it or her was it? She was it, and since it's not the subject of the sentence, it's got to be a predicate pronoun because it follows a linking verb. I also see I've got this who over here. Who wanted to be the first woman? Who was one of our Awubises? So I actually could call this a complex sentence as well. It's an introductory infinitive, but it's also complex. Ooh, it's got our dependent clause at the end of that sentence. See if I can make that a little clearer. There we go. So this one could be either or. Here I highlighted with she or her, so I know that's a prepositional phrase. So I know I have to have a pronoun that can do the job of object of a preposition, and that would have to be her, because that's on my list of pronouns that I memorized. The one who would plan the route was him or he. Oh, I see another dependent clause in there, that same one with who. Who would plan the route? So if I ignore that, I have one is the subject, was is the linking verb. I remember with the linking verb that I can switch the order of my sentence. He was the one or him was the one. I know that following a linking verb it's a predicate pronoun. and only subject pronouns are allowed to do that job, and the subject pronoun has to be he. Earhart and he or him set out on the historic, well actually I could just say Earhart and he or him set out. I've got a compound, so I want to get rid of my first person, and would I say he set out or him set out? He set out, because it's the subject of the sentence, and I have to have a subject pronoun. I'm going to ignore my dependent clause in number 8 and start over here. Time has given us or we few clues. Time is the subject. Has given is my verb phrase, and it's an action verb. Has given what? Has given clues. Has given clues to whom? So I know that this is an indirect object, and only one of these pronouns is allowed to do that job, and that would be us. The disappearance has mystified us or we ever since. Subject is disappearance. It has mystified. Has mystified whom or what? Sounds like I've got a direct object, and the only one that can do that job is us because it's an object pronoun. And then here, of, she, or her, I had highlighted because it's a prepositional phrase, which means that the job here is going to be object of a preposition, which means I need an object pronoun, and her is on my list of object pronouns. Now I have one thing left to do. I did not tell the type of sentence here. Wasn't an intro prep phrase, doesn't have a dependent clause in there, so this looks like it's just a simple, regular, everyday old sentence. Alright, for this next part, it was just a review of each of the different types of pronouns that we've talked about. So we just did subject and object, so the next type is possessive. And possessive pronouns, I know, show ownership, so I want to think about what pronoun examples could I use. Well, to show that I own something, I could say my or mine. I could say his or hers or its. So you need to be able for your test to name each of the types of pronouns and then give some examples of each. So another type is reflexive. And for reflexive pronouns, I know right away that reflexive and intensive, oops, and I'm going to have to put it over here, and reflexive are the same list of pronouns. What's going to matter is how they're used in a sentence, and our trick is to remember that reflexive is required. I can't take them out, but I know both of them are compounds, so myself, themselves, and so really I could use the same ones, but I'm going to study a little bit and try some different ones. I could have yourself singular or ourselves plural, but again, truly these can be the exact same list. It's how they're used in sentences that decide whether they're intensive or reflexive. Possessive, reflexive, intensive, demonstrative. Demonstrative pronouns, our memory trick in there was demonstrate, and to demonstrate which one you're talking about, you would say this, or that, or these, or those. Another kind is interrogative, and our memory trick for this one is to think of interrogate. And to interrogate means to ask a bunch of questions. So we're looking for question words that can be answered with people or things. So who, whom, what, which one, and whose are interrogatives. And again, for the test, you do not need to know all 5. You need to be able to list at least 2. And then our last set is the indefinite pronouns. And indefinite pronouns have that prefix in, meaning not definite. I could be talking about anyone, or most people, or some of them, but not a definite list. Okay, so in the next screencast, I'll go through the rest of the correct answers for the other types of pronouns.